Shabbat Shalom, and this is 10 Minutes of Torah. Not the 10 Commandments. Oh, wait. It is the 10 Commandments, actually. Yes, indeed. This week's Torah portion, which is called Yitro, contains what we call the 10 Commandments. But before we get to the 10 Commandments, let me just take a moment to talk about the Torah portion in general. Very interesting. It is called Yitro. That is Moses' father-in-law, because, of course, he is a religious figure among the Midianites, not among the Jews. And it begins with Yitro, who has been not with them when all of the slaves were crossing the sea, etc., but out in his own areas, if you will, has now rejoined Moses. So it begins with Moses seeking his counsel. Moses is becoming too burdened by having to make all the decisions. Minor decisions he feels he should not be making. He doesn't have the time to make. And so, indeed, that's exactly what Yitro, what Jethro says, is you need people to share the burden, Moses. And so, therefore, only the most important questions should go directly to you. The rest, you will find people who can make judgments on those questions, and minor things they can decide on. So, Moses, smart guy, his father-in-law made a good suggestion, and of course he accepts it. And then it says, Jethro returns to his own land again. So from that piece, interesting, about law and decision-making, we now get the preparation for the giving of the 10 Commandments, or it's very interesting, lots of different interpretations as to what is exactly going on with this preparation for Revelation. We'll call it Revelation for the moment, and the content of Revelation is something we'll discuss after that. So the people are standing now at the foot of Mount Sinai, and God says to the people through Moses, to the Jewish people, or the Israelites, the earth, God says, belongs to God. But you shall be a kingdom of priests, Kohanim, and a holy nation. So God is proposing a covenant. God is saying, you're going to be a special people. Yes, all of the world is mine. All the people in the world are mine, it is saying. But there'll be something special about you and something holy about you. And they prepare themselves for 3 days for this unique moment in history. And then the Torah that tells us in chapter 19, verse 5 and 6, for 3 days the people prepared themselves for this unique moment in history. On the third day, it says, as morning was dawning, there was thunder and lightning, and the people in the camp trembled. Moses went up to the mountain to receive the revelation, which is reported to us in the form of the 10 Commandments. So, it's interesting because Jewish tradition has it that the revelation to Moses is the entire Torah. And yet, the Torah itself doesn't seem to indicate that that is the revelation. The revelation seems to center around the 10 Commandments. So it's a question that we have to ask. It's interesting that what exactly happened on Mount Sinai was, and in a sense remains, a mystery. What we do have, though, is the 10 Commandments. And the 10 Commandments are fascinating in so many different ways. There are lots of other things one can discuss in this week's Torah portion, but I think that it's hard to ignore ever discussing the Ten Commandments. They are, although not in their entirety, the foundation of what we would call the Western world, based on the ideas in it. Now, not all of the ideas. I say that because, for example, you have Shabbat in the Ten Commandments, and that isn't necessarily a part of the Western world in the same way. But the idea of not murdering, of not stealing, of being truthful in testimony, all the different kinds of things that are the Ten Commandments, they really become the foundation for Western society. So really they are of great importance. And the text of the Torah is very specific in the order that they're given. You see, the first 4 commandments all have to do with our relationship to God. There's a debate, actually, as to where the commandments, each one begins and ends. But the first one basically says that we accept God as our God. God brought us out of the land of Egypt, right? So that's certainly between us and God. And that's followed by we can't make any idols. We can't make, or even if it's sort of an attempt to depict God, we can't certainly do that, and we can't bow down to other gods, and we can't make even things that we depict as as God and bow down to that. Not allowed to swear falsely by the name of God. What does that mean? Well, we say it in English all the time. I swear to God. That is followed by the only ritual commandment, Shabbat. Here it says, Zachor, remember Shabbat. Actually, in Deuteronomy, another word is used instead, Shamor. We should observe Shabbat, but in any case, that is the 4th commandment. Now, the last 5 commandments are all commandments between human beings. So, what are they? Honor your parents. Don't murder. Don't commit adultery. Don't steal. Don't lie or bear false witness about your neighbor. Don't covet what your neighbor has. So those last, I said 5. Those last 6 really, they're between us and fellow human beings. So you can see that divide. 10 commandments between us and God, and between us and our fellow human beings. Now, what's interesting is the ones that are the bridges. The last one between us and God is Shabbat. Well, Shabbat is not Shabbat without other people. So in a sense, our honoring Shabbat and God is also going to be honoring people. And then the real transition one is that we should honor our father and our mother. Why is that the transition? Because in a sense, right, God creates human beings. Our parents create us, and we're grateful that they created us. So going from our relationship between us and God, Shabbat, and then our parents, you can see how naturally it flows, and the connection between Shabbat and God, obviously, but also people, and honoring your parents, us and people, our parents, but also in a very real sense, God. So when the Ten Commandments are read in Shodas Shabbat, it's customary for us to stand, and many, many different ways to look at them. But one of them is to show that they start with our relationship to God and end up with our relationship to each other, and have really beautiful ways to bridge them in between. Well, this has been 10 Minutes of Torah, not, well, yes, it was the 10 Commandments. Shabbat Shalom.